Hello everyone and welcome to week 11 for the English 1510 semester. Working our way into the next stage of the research papers. Again, slight change from the argumentation. Those pieces again, anyone who did those first ones on there, you get credit noted for the term. I will put those in at the end of the semester along with these, but it's not going to count against anybody from the switch from argumentation to research. So on this Week 11 overview, we're looking at the moving from the research where we did the prior week of the summary and working thesis and points of support. Most of the students got those in. I have a couple of you that had some issues with a few things. Make sure that you're messaging me. If I made contact with you, make sure you message me up here above in the instant messaging. Let me know once those are submitted in the summary outline so that I can review them. I can't promise that it won't be deductions on those. I have to have in terms of rationale on those. A couple of students obviously had documentation for some of the things they contacted me about. A couple others maybe not, so some point deductions there, but better to get those in than not so that you have that content reviewed. The pieces here on research papers, the outlines with works cited, it's also going to include an abstract. I'm not going to say anything about that in this overview video besides to point you to the Dropbox component that's over here. Obviously, you can also find it under assignments. The instructional video for that in particular will be located in that Dropbox again this week, rather than having it broken up in the piece on here. The week 11 overview. At this time, in terms of the reading, I'm not going to add anything additional. I got a couple of students contacted that you're doing many more articles than just the 5 required, which is great. It's what we hope ends up happening. Just remember that those articles that you're using, they must be peer-reviewed sources from OCC databases, and you must select, like I showed last time, you must select for full text available and peer review out of your results so that it customizes for those. If you didn't watch last week's, go back through that. And also remember, folks, these videos that were included from the content file above from the research librarians, if you didn't watch those and didn't do those readings from the prior weeks, make sure that you do. Each one of those included information about conducting that research. The reading that was included last week was for the chapter on research papers in part 5 of the book, and then doing research, making sure that you're going through those things and understand them thoroughly. That was actually included in part with the focus on the weeks in 6, 7, and 8 leading up to those prior. In this week, I'm not going to add anything additional because so many of you are, I won't say overwhelmed, but a number of you do have many more than the 5 required, and you're going through your research very thoroughly. We've been back and forth on a couple of things. I haven't approved any outside sources, so make sure you guys remember it has to be through our databases. The submission you'll be completing this outline with abstract and things by next Sunday at 11, and then the final week we'll just be writing a draft of it. Again, it's a much simpler assignment than going through the argumentation, which I think a number of students are going to have a much easier time with, or are having an easier time with. For the week 12, it will just be writing the essay out itself. If you do this outline correct this week, you should have everything included there that you'll need to actually write the paper, so it shouldn't be much of an issue. And just remember that the entering of final grades will begin on December 19th, so with this being due on the 18th, I have to have those in no later than that. I can't accept late submissions on those because the final grades have to be processed with the college right away. As I said, the research paper assignment is over here on the side. I want to point out for a couple of you on rhetorical analysis, remember that the rough draft, that's credit-based, and that was to be used in the peer review forum. I am not putting up a discussion forum for this final one. I think that on the last 2, the buy-in has declined. It was pretty good in the memoir piece. Rhetorical analysis, it was slightly less, but the significant portion on week 11 with that discussion board forum was that I had a slight drop in students that submitted their drafts, and now after going through all those drafts, I see that it was because several students actually didn't complete the essay itself all the way. even by the time you get to your final submission. When we're looking at those, if you're not participating in the forum, if you're not going to go through a review of classmates, it's really not fair to put yours up there and looking for a review. I gave partial credit for those submissions, but you don't get the full credit for the discussion because you didn't review a classmate's. And that drop off was so significant with the rhetorical analysis, it almost becomes of no use. And then in the final week here, you're not going to have a rough draft version. You're going to be doing a finalized draft that only I'm going through for these. So I'm not going to do a discussion board forum for these ones. For the rhetorical analysis, rough draft and final grades, remember the postings that were put up for the rhetorical analysis summary and outline. I went through those extensively and made commentary. I put commentary on those, and then audio recordings for nearly every student on those, and made sure that everyone knew what was to be addressed on the final draft. And then you submitted for a peer review forum, and then for the final draft. So some of you, I also did additional commentary that I don't normally do on the rough drafts. But please remember, the main changes you were making were from the summary and outline there. That if the summary and outline are completed correctly, there should be no need for anything else that's commented on. What I comment on afterwards is the draft in its entirety. That's after you've had the opportunity to take those things to tutoring if you have sentence level issues, and take them through a peer review forum. All right. So I mark everything that I can, and if you complete those outlines, the outlines, just like the one for this week, they're scaffolded very thoroughly. Every single thing you could include or need to include in each one of these papers is included on that outline. That is the way that you should organize your own pre-writing in any writing situation. So for this week, the final grades of rhetorical analysis, I think everyone besides 3 students in one section and 2 in another have those up. It's got the final grades not only on the summary outline, but the final draft itself. And then a couple of students I was working with, because you had documentable circumstances, we're moving forward on those. The only outstanding issue is a few students who have dropped off on participation or on submissions. It's been a smattering back and forth. We're coming to the end of the semester here, so if I don't receive contact from anyone about some of those things, I'm going to have to put in the grade as it stands, which for a few students, that's not going to be a passing grade. All right. Remember, I am able to respond much more quickly to any messaging that comes through the instant messaging here on the home page, as opposed to going through email. I went through and found 3 more that were responses to threads and things over the last 4 or 5 days. But I'm not in the habit of going through and searching through individual student names or searching old threads. Don't respond to mass emails I send to a course. Make sure that what you're doing is creating either a new email itself and giving me in the subject line what the question is for which class. And make sure that when you guys have an individual message there, please make sure you're including your class and section number. I have a number of students who still are doing this where you're sending a message and I don't know which section you're in. I have more than one of the comps. I teach more than one of each of the divisions that I have each semester. Just make sure that you're sending me a direct message there. And again, the easiest is just to send me a message here. If it's required more, I have moved it to email and taken the messaging back and forth with each individual students in that way. Okay? Let me know if you guys have questions, but the overall, you should just be focusing on your research of the peer-reviewed articles from OCC databases for each student. If at any time you forgot how to do this, which shouldn't be at this stage of the game, you're going to that link from the home page of D2L. You can go right here and take any one of these. I think I used music therapy before. Perform your search for music therapy. Over on the left-hand side, once you get your results, select for the full text available and the peer-reviewed sources. For some of you, like if you know your relevant topic, timeline, something like this might be 1970 through 23. apply the filters for those. That should be adequate for your starting point on these, and look through. You'll find a number of different peer-reviewed articles and sources for these. In total on this one here, you're looking at many different available in the library and available online. You have a total of 11,000 results. It certainly doesn't mean you'll have 11,000 that you'll actually want to draw from for your research. But in any event, we have a number of different things that are full text and peer reviewed available here. And at any time you find an article that you find something you want to cite, it's very useful in the framing of your analysis and the report you're writing. You can go through the full text available sourcing here. You'll see the abstract and then the report that follows. You may have to log in again. If you're logged into our D2L course site, sometimes it'll take you directly to the link. Sometimes it takes you externally and asks you to log in again with your same username and password information from your student account. But it should still take you there. But if at any time you find that's one of the sources you're going to use, you hit citation. Make sure you've selected for MLA 8th edition. And as I mentioned in your guys' content folder there, Dropbox folder for this research paper outline, on the works cited page that you include, if they are full text available and they're through our databases as they should be, the DOI should be included. The DOI is here, the digital object identifier. That's listed here. That's all I need to be able to find the primary source typically. Make sure that you're grabbing here. You note that the hanging indent is already done. You may have to redo some of these things when you copy and paste it in there, or you can add those to your clipboard and do them all at once you've completed those. But in any event, the same framing, as long as it's in alphabetical order, should be applied. And then you'll note that if you've selected the wrong edition or the wrong formatting, this is MLA. If you select APA, you'll notice that on accident, you'll notice that the titling is different. You'll see lowercase throughout. You'll see some emphasis on different things that's slightly different. So you make sure that you're selecting MLA 8th edition. All right. Again, let me know if you guys have questions. At this time, out of the majority of students still on roster, say 15 in one class and 16 in the other, are right on schedule, right on point, doing very well. But I still have, a handful in each class that have fallen significantly behind or simply are not completing work as it's directed in these. There's not much we can do about that at this stage, but if I'm not getting contact from you about any of these issues or about concern over your grade, there's nothing I can do but post what I have for you by the end of the term. Okay? I look forward to seeing the rest of the work, guys, and good luck on the writing.